So with all of the value that we're looking at for these mega trends that have been and are occurring and that we foresee even into 2024. Talk to me about, and again, you all have very significant customer exposure discussions all the time. Tell me how can manufacturers strike a balance between adopting those innovative technologies that are really cool and are going to and are going to do so much in but ensure that it's a practical and cost-effective solution. Raj, you're talking about budgets. All this cool stuff also costs money.
Yes.
Data costs money. It costs something to do it. How are CIOs and organizations balancing innovation with practicality?
It's a very interesting topic, Alan. I think even though we are saying, yeah, companies are now investing, but it's not going to be free, right? The investment is always a challenge. And more, the top executives are finding that they have to keep, there is an increased cost pressure, and they have to do this balancing act between how much they are investing in the future versus how much they are really getting the value, and also making sure that they are running their operation. So they are always in the mode of performing while we transform. So they want to keep performing at the same time keep transforming. This is going to be for the next few years, it's going to be there. So they have to do this balancing act. Now, I heard one of the CEOs in one of the forums when I was listening to a CEO who was talking about digitalization, that they are saying that with digitalization, they're able to go to market they've never been before. And also they're able to sell products that they've never produced before, right? So that's the end goal, that they can go and penetrate markets they've never been and with products that they've never sold before. That's the power of doing digitalization. But that doesn't come easy. It's going to be a huge investment that they have to make, and they have to be extremely cautious of how much they are investing, what value they are getting, and are they really making are they really reaching the goals that they were expecting? All of that needs to be very carefully analyzed. So more and more companies, what they are doing is they are looking for incremental innovation. So if I look at S4, many companies are now looking at going from ECC to S4 to start with, so that they can run their operations exactly the way they were doing before, and then they can start adopting innovation in an incremental way. Rather than doing everything together at one point, they are now breaking down their innovation ideas and seeing what makes the most sense. So they go start with that, so it's more like an agile methodology, right? They start with a couple of innovations, get the value out of it, get more confidence that upper management is happy about it, then more investments come in, and then they go do one at a time. That's the concept of let's perform while we transform type of thing. And it's becoming more and more prevalent in many organizations because the budget is not unlimited. Every CIO has a limited budget, and they have to carry on between running the operations and making sure that they are ready for the future.
Always a balancing act.
It's a balancing act.
One example that I can bring, Alan, in that respect is a customer that we are working with, where there is a acquisition of 4 different companies. Well, actually, it's 3 that they bought, and then now they are 4 entities that are working under the same enterprise, and then they need to get their value of working together. And the utilization of the standardization of their applications, the business operation applications, is key. And we are working with them to determine what processes needs to be standardized first, and what should be the specific milestones of value addition or functions additions that are totally linked to it, Yeah, and
Mhm.
this is key. It's not about being the best and the most beautiful. It's been about what is the greatest value in the short period of time. And I think that that's what brings the practicality that you are bringing into the table.
So the whole, there's uh, a, a consumer, not so much a consumer trend, but perhaps a consumer trend, but organizations follow it too, where they talk about a batch size of one. And digitalization of manufacturing is allowing more and more companies to offer tailored product variations aligned to specific customers, specifications. But certainly that trend, I think, is driving then a lot of the digitalization of the manufacturing process. Would you agree? Victor, what do you think?
Well, what I think is that companies are looking for anticipation. So they are focusing on what is coming to the next year. And they need to, as they know that all of these changes are coming and all of these specifics from the customer are going to be necessity or necessary for them to supply, then digital twins are a must. So this is a tool where it taking into consideration the full processes of the factory, making sure that we have all the machines connected, making sure that we can anticipate when those machines are going to require some maintenance, and then how many things can we do, or how many variations we can do. So let's think about this. If we can anticipate in a very well position, we can say, okay, we need to produce this type of product this year or this month or this week. And then other machines can do other things, and then other machines can do other things, and then we can supply all of these products to the customers. And also we take into consideration when those machines are going to be down because they will require some repairments. So then we can make efficient all the changes and making sure that everything that we have been discussing today makes sense. We have connectivity, we have production, we have efficiency, we have low cost, we have budgets, and we have a very happy customer with what they need. So, you know, at the end, one of my bosses around 25 years ago, he told me, if you want to be one of the best, you need to anticipate. You need to anticipate for the best and for the worst. If you don't do it, you will fail. So this is the same thing in a factory. You need to produce, so you are for the best. You are producing, so you are producing 50 pieces an hour. So that's the best. But eventually, that machine is going to break. So you need to make sure that you anticipate the correct timing, so you don't disrupt the full production. So that's what I'm seeing right now. That the companies need to understand that any single model, any single process requires the participation of multiple entities or multiple people or multiple software, and to make sure that everything works together in a fine way. So we cannot just focus on a tool. We need to review the full process, and that's
Yeah.
where the future is coming.
Understanding what the plates are that are spinning and which direction they're spinning and when they're going to stop. When I my very I'm an industrial engineer by training, and when in my first job as an engineer, I was doing some simulation work, some process simulation work, and this is a long time ago. We were using abacuses and stuff. Um, but it was because in college I had taken classes on simulation, and I wound up selling that software for a living. That has evolved and has morphed so much, but what all of those models need is, Chuck, data. What all of those models need is more accurate model of what real life is going to do, so that you can anticipate what's going to go on. And then all of a sudden now you're anticipating it, and when disruptions happen, the system more rapidly flexes and moves in the direction that you need to in order to continue to provide your product to your customers. It's really an amazing synergistic, thing that's happening as digitalization happens. But more and more data just means that we can do what we would typically do ourselves so much faster, so much faster. And there's so much value in that.
Yeah, and it's similar to integration, right? People didn't realize the value of integration until they had it. Same
And that's
thing.
all about access to data too,
It's
and
access. It's
and being
access
able
to
to
data.
use
That's
that to
right.
make decisions.
It's access to data. It's single source of data, so you don't have duplication and getting out of sync. But now today it's about data, right? And wherever the data is generated, if you can bring it together with other data, there's power there, there's value there, there's a potential return there that in the past people may not have thought about, right?
Yeah.
Or didn't understand the impacts of that. So I think we're in a similar mode today where it's like, oh, if we can get this data and that data and that data together, what can we do with it? That's
Yeah.
a more accepted question today than it was back when we had organizations that were built in silos and they didn't care about the next silo, their data, because I have my data, right? And so that those walls have been broken down through integration, but now we're moving to the next phase of that conversation about data.
Let's generate more and use it all together to make fast decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Alan, I can see in 2024, at least for D4M, the digital for manufacturing. I can see few elements that will be delivering a lot. One of those components is bringing our customers to the next baseline infrastructure that it is S/4HANA. Yeah, that is one of the elements, because as Raj said, not because only the technologies, because gives the next step to the next baseline to be able to improve faster. That is one. The second one, it's helping our customers to identify what element should be first, second, and third to the transformation of their manufacturing plant, and specific to the plant. Yeah, and then the third one that I can think is that the advanced planning systems integrated with the manufacturing execution systems to be able to first collect the data for the constraints of the operations of the manufacturing floor, and then plan accordingly for those operations in the floor. I think that those are the elements that I see that will be working a lot for the 2024. I don't know, Raj and Victor, if you see something additional to that one, to those elements.
No.
Well, in my case, I can tell that change management will still be one thing that needs to be taken care. The human and the skills are necessary across the full process. So
Yeah.
I can tell that, again, building skills is going to be super important. And then avoiding bad practices. So for that, also training will be important. So that's the other component. And the last one, as I said before, cybersecurity is going to be a must. That's going to be a must for the next coming days.
Yeah, I agree with you, Victor, in terms of the training, and because I've heard a lot of companies are investing too much money in the digital, but along the digitalization goes with all these change management. They have to, it's not just the technologies or the products, right? It's basically the culture around the organization, the people, the training, everything. It's like a friend of mine who gave an iPhone to his grandpa, but the grandpa didn't know how to use that iPhone. So it's exactly the same thing. You can have all the best technologies in a company, but if the company is not ready to adopt that, and they are not trained and they are not culturally ready to change and adopt it, every investment that we do is going to be a waste.
Well, and that's a good point, Raj and Victor. If you expand that to my thinking around, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and don't let the future technology take your eyes off of the steps, the crawling you have to do and the walking you have to do before you can run, right? We still have customers that have multiple ERP systems, and let's face it, that standardization, which we do very well, driving template throughout an organization, that standardization makes a much simpler environment to gather data on.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
If you keep a complex environment where you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different ERP systems now to accumulate that data to get value out of an AI scenario is going to be a lot more expensive, right? So
Sure.
And a lot more
there's still-
difficult to accomplish.
Yeah, so there's still going to be more template-driven activity, I believe, because everyone looks at ERP and goes, "Oh, that's old stuff, right? That's standard stuff. It's easy stuff." Well, yes and no. It's fairly comprehensive in the operations, the magnitude of the operations in an organization, and it's not necessarily standardized or that easy to standardize across an organization. So I still think there's going to be some crawling that needs to occur and walking before AI can become really effective. And to me, that's a part of the education that is happening out there where people are like, oh, I want to do AI. It's like, okay, you're running 7 ERP systems. That's going to be expensive, right? So maybe there are some steps. Raj, you talked about pragmatic, taking a pragmatic approach. There's going to need to be some of those smaller steps or earlier steps taken for the benefit of an AI or a machine learning language or later.